Today, I'll be joined by Mimi Letter, executive producer and director of Shameless, The Leftovers, and the hit Apple Plus series, The Morning Show. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Congratulations on season three. It's mind blowing. It was so hard for me to not talk about it because none of my friends like saw it, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy who spoils it. But I will say, I'm in love with this series. I think it's the best one yet, and I think it would be appropriate for you to just start by giving our viewers just a small glimpse of what they're going to be getting into for season three.
Okay. Well, Charlotte Stout, first of all, our writing showrunner, came on this season and really designed an incredible narrative, an incredible story. So you know, season three was made coming out of the pandemic. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it was, quite a time. And so the first season obviously dealt with the MeToo movement, and we've sort of moved and pivoted away from the sexual misconduct. And now we're much now focused this season on women's autonomy and how it's undermined, and reproductive rights and abortion rights and uh, billionaires, minority rule, the state of journalism, the threat of to journalists all around the world. And most importantly, thematically, we deal with the state of the truth in the world as journalists, and very much so in who our truths, the lies we tell ourselves. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of our characters this season have a lot of secrets.
Absolutely.
And so it's really a juicy, sexy season.
It's one of the main things that I think people are going to take away is just how fragile our country is, how fragile the media is in getting the truth. And it's so important. And yes, you cover a lot. One that stuck out to me was racism in the newsroom, and then the double standards between how it looks when a guy is dating a woman in the public eye versus from the woman's perspective and how she's treated. The guy gets a high five and then the woman is ridiculed and treated as if she can't do her job, which is I think is a very, very, very important conversation to have. I was just curious to wonder, when you guys get together and create this and go to shoot this, how do you decide what to focus on?
Well, I think, in the writer's room, they, we have like the first two seasons to come off of, right? There's a lot of breadcrumbs left, that take us to how, we left coming out, we left right in the pandemic. We decided to start the season 2 years later. And a lot has happened in those 2 years. You had Black Lives Matter, George Floyd,
Mm-hmm.
uh, a reckoning with profound injustice and how we value each other. And, during the pandemic, a new billionaire was minted every 24 hours. And, you know, so much happened in the 2 years coming out of the pandemic. And we're still actually in the pandemic. It's ticking up. But anyway, our show's a news show and it's very topical. So our stories reflect very much what's happening in the world. Bradley Jackson's story, in terms of abortion rights, her story was created before Roe v. Wade was overturned. And then it was overturned and it was like art, life, life, art.
Mm-hmm.
And the Nicole Beharie character, the Chris Hunter character played by Nicole Beharie, was a really important story for us to tell. She plays this Olympic gold medalist who's moved into the media a la Michael Strahan. And she's this anchor and she's a natural and she finds herself in this very different world from the clarity of the track, where you have a beginning and an end. And the UBA politics and turf wars are a lot more confusing. And we wanted to explore systemic racism in the workplace and in our world. And I think our character, Chris Hunter, navigates the maze and
Uh, she was
is it
amazing.
great? She discovers a new side of herself, and Nicole Bahari is a badass. She's
She was amazing. And I think like the dagger for me is, you would, from as an outsider, right? As a pedestrian, I would pull back and say, this talented, amazing woman is going into this liberal establishment, and she's going to flourish. She's going to be excellent, but nobody talks about the internal racism that exists inside of establishments that appear to be liberal from the outside. And that's a conversation that a lot of people don't want to touch, because it makes all of us look at ourselves and the things that we've done, or the things that we've subscribed to or been a part of.
absolutely. I mean, that I think is what is so strong about the morning show, is that what you see in front of the camera is bright and it's beautiful and everyone's happy and laughing. And then you pull the curtain back and you see that it's really all fucked up. These people are complex. They have really complex issues. They have a lot of secrets. They tell each other a lot of lies. And it was, Nicole came in and just killed it, and really was really integral to the storytelling. She really nailed it and really came through. And that episode number 303 was directed by Thomas Carter, a really incredible filmmaker. And it all gelled. It's really great when it does. And I thought I think it's an important, and it's, the country's so divided. And I think we get to examine all of that with the January 6th story and Bradley's story. And I don't know how much I'm allowed to speak about it, but it's just very significant, those stories. And the narrative really, what happens in the world really is created through the stories we tell are created through our characters' POV of the world we are living in, and hopefully reflect you and me and everybody.
No, it does. And you guys, you do such an excellent job, and you added John Hamm
Yeah.
to the cast, who may or may not be coming in to buy UBA. I watch these shows about these people in the top 1%, and they always make why do you think they always make such interesting characters?
Yeah. They're like the people we love to hate. And they're very complex. They have many sides, many faces. And you think this guy Paul comes in, he's this tech billionaire, and he changes UBA forever. And he's the savior. Everyone thinks he's going to save the UBA with his money. But things become less clear, or more clear, as we go through the season. People aren't what they seem to be on surface. Some people are, and some people aren't. And it's quite fascinating, his character and how he just stepped into those shoes. And we cast a very likable a person, human being, very different than, maybe, I mean, this is how I see it, very different than on Succession.
Right.
Like, do you love Brian Cox's character? Do you like him?
Not like I love Paul Marks.
There you go. And so you really are interested in this guy, and this guy is very fascinating, and he's good looking, and he's tall, and he's so there's a lot of, there's a bromance that happens with Corey,
Right.
And there's a triangle, with Alex, and there's a lot of fighting and flirting, and there's a lot of chess pieces that are constantly in motion. And who's going to win? And we see Alex step into her power, finding her voice, wanting a seat at the table. We see Corey falling apart, needs the money. It's not fun being a CEO when you don't have the money. And he
Right.
brings Paul Marks in to come save the day. And that's
Absolutely.
when all chaos ensues. And it's really fascinating, your question about the face of people and who are they and what is their truth. And that is what we are examining on our show this season.
I
And
think I think the show you take it to the next level when you show us how these media companies like a Salon or New York Times or ABC or CBS, how all of these companies are just we're 1 billionaire away from losing the power to be able to tell the truth to the people who subscribe to what we do. There's already this huge movement of people who don't respect journalists, who think we're all hacks, who do, they feel like we don't fact check and we don't do this stuff, to be able to make sure they are taken care of and they are having a better quality of life. But our industry is so fragile when you show that.
our country, thank you. And our country is so fragile. It's We're teetering on chaos. And um uh you know I hope our country changes. I hope we can change it. I hope we can be strong enough to see the truth in what's happening. It's so incredible when half of the country, I don't even think it's half, but feel one way and the other feels another, and we're all looking at the same thing. And I don't understand it. And I think that's what we're trying to understand and what we're trying to do on our show
I,
is
I walked away. I walked away, with a whole lot of thoughts about the future of media, and what is it going to look like 20 years from now? I'm curious to know what you think.
hmm. Yeah, well, I I hope there is a media 20 years from now. There will be. I think there's going to be a reckoning, with the truth. I mean, with the big lie, that's something we Minority Rule we looked at this season, and in 20 years, gosh, I don't know. Nobody knows anything. We don't even know when the strike's going to end. Um, you know,
We don't know.
William Goldman said, "Nobody knows anything."
All right.
All I know is that we have the power. Journalists have the power to tell the truth, and I think that is very much what we're interested in discussing in our season. And I think the truth will out, and so I think it's gonna. I'm hoping for the best.
One of the most powerful qualities about, I mean, what you do in general, especially with this show, is you take these issues, the racism, the sexism, the violence, and all of these different things, and you give it to us in a way that's not abstract. So the viewers, we can imagine these things happening at our job, right?
Yeah.
And what's your take on what's your take on how the audience takes it all in?
Well, I feel the same way. I mean, I think the show, we want it to be as told as truthfully as we can. And we may be a new show, but we're talking to all walks of
Mm-hmm.
lives here. And I think there are real issues people are dealing with in our show. We look at Mia, Karen Pittman's character, who is the EP and who's caught between her personal and professional life as the EP of the morning show, having to make impossible calls, whether that is George Floyd's death or how to handle the racism at UBA. These are big, big um, issues that she has to
Absolutely,
deal with.
absolutely.
And that's very real. And that reflects the fabric of our of our country, and people in all walks of life having to deal with very hard things. And we can do hard things. And, you know, we also, you see, our show is really about something, but hopefully we do it and entertain you at the same time. Because out of all this heavy drama, there's a nice dose of comedy to get there. Because without the comedy, I think you don't have great drama. And we try and do it. We try and entertain you while we talk about real life issues.
We're not gonna give any spoilers. But I know regardless of what happens to Bradley, she's gonna be fine. But is Alex gonna be okay? We tend to worry about Alex a little.
Yeah, I think Alex, takes a big leap in our story. And I think she goes through a large and long journey that is really truthful. It's heartbreaking. It's painful. And she steps into her power. She finds her voice. And do I think she's going to be okay?
Yeah, do you think she's gonna be okay?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, all right, good.
I think Alex is going to be fine. Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see where we take her next season in season 4. Alex is going to be strong. She's a strong woman and also very fragile, just like we're all so strong and we're all so fragile. But if this season didn't break her, nothing's going to break her. I have hopes for Alex Levy.
What's next for you?
Well, I'm doing another season of the show. Season
Congratulations.
4.
I'll be looking forward to seeing it before everyone else.
Thank you. And I'm going to direct a film about my family of filmmakers. It's an indie, and it's about the family. My father was an ultra low budget filmmaker from the 60s to the 90s, and I grew up on sets. And the movie's about basically the family you make when you make a movie, and making a movie literally with your family. And so it's a little Boogie Nights without the porn, and
Right.
and day for night. And I think there's a nostalgia right now. We need to see some really fun and personal movies. And
No,
so,
the friends I made on set, they're my friends for life. Like they're my
yeah,
friends for life.
it happens, you're with this family, and everything is so intense when you make a show, when you're telling a story, and every detail is completely, every rock is lifted. We look at everything. We look at our color palette. We look at, would this character say that? We look at the truth of what they would say, where they're going, what they want. And you develop this intense relationship with the people you work with, and they do become your family.
Absolutely. You see them every day for like 16 hours a day for like 4 months straight. And then
That's right.
everybody's off to the next gig.
And then it's like, where's my family?
It's
Anyway,
beautiful. So congratulations on season 4.
thank you so much.
I can't wait for people to see season 3. Can you tell everyone when and where they can see the new season of the morning show?
Yes, you can see the new season of the morning show on September 13th. We're dropping 2 episodes, and it is on Apple TV Plus, I
Thank you.
think.
Apple TV Plus, that's correct.
Just kidding. Anyway, yeah, two episodes September 13th, and then 1 episode every week after.
Thank you
And
so
it just
much.
gets better and better. Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you.